Well, hello everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Ava Belmont and I am 16 years old. I go to Mount Vernon High School in Virginia. So really what prompted me, I guess first off, I really want to just take a really brief moment to say thank you so much to Lead Peace and for everyone for giving me this opportunity to talk and share some experiences of mine and try and bring some awareness and just some support during these challenging times. We like the overall theme, we need to find that silver lining. I think that can be such a hard thing, but I'm hoping that I'll be able to bring something wonderful to this Lead Peace Talks. What prompted me to become a mental health advocate? I think was definitely my own journey through mental health, chronic illness, and disability has been a main journey of mine of dealing with depression and anxiety and different mental health related disorders that were so prevalent in my life, just from a young age to continuing on through middle school, high school, those sorts of things. So from different things like that, I think that it was such a hard thing where I felt isolated and alone. I mean, as a young person dealing with mental illness, I think it can be something that feels very isolating, and it still unfortunately is very much stigmatized in a way. And so I wanted to stop that cycle. I think that it's something that I felt like I'm going to take this on head first and try and bring awareness in all of this, which can oftentimes be a lot to handle and then to try and put pressure on myself. So I've been very fortunate enough to work with the FCPS Student-Led Mental Health Initiative, Our Minds Matter, and just like my own school to try and bring awareness to mental health and really try and support people because I didn't feel supported as a student. So I really want to make sure that every single student who is dealing with any mental health concerns or just being a student, I think that's one thing that we don't often think about is everyone deals with mental health. And so I wanted to bring a space where everyone can feel supported. So that's sort of how my advocacy and journey has started for my own struggles, trying to turn that into something positive. So thank you again for having me. I'm looking forward to this panel.
Awesome. Yeah, want to echo a lot of the things that Ava and Kevina already said. I'm super excited and grateful to be here with you guys today. My name is Kelsey. I am a sophomore at Wesleyan University. So I'm coming in from up in Connecticut to you guys, but I am from the DMV area. I grew up in Arlington and went to Yorktown. And my mental health journey started very similarly to Ava's and Jaira's in involvement with Our Minds Matter, which is an awesome organization that really changed my life, honestly. And when I got to college, I became involved with an organization called The Hidden Opponent, which is a nonprofit organization that does mental health advocacy and outreach for student athletes. I'm a swimmer at Wesleyan, and I, kind of became inspired by this organization because of what I had experienced in my own swimming career. I have a chronic injury, and that became very hard for me to handle as a college athlete. My own experiences with anxiety and depression, I had a lot of trouble validating them, especially being in the world of athletics where we're told to, push ourselves to our limits and continue, working as hard as we can and not let anything bring us down or stop us. It became really hard for me to, validate what I was going through and stop and say, this is the help I need. This is what I need to do for myself. It became frustrating to me that a mental health or a mental illness was treated differently than the chronic physical injury that I had. And, I've been trying to sort of navigate this space within athletics and just within being a student and or an athlete during COVID is one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. So trying to navigate in that space and, make sure that I am validating my experiences, because someone else validating their own experiences was what led me to go back into therapy, to go on my antidepressant, and to really help myself and sort of get to the place where I can be sitting on a Zoom call with you guys and talking about all this stuff in a way that, hopefully I'm hoping will help other people feel that way too. So I'm super duper excited. And I cannot wait to hear what Ava and Kevina have to say, because I am so inspired by you two both. I'm really excited. Thank you again for having me.
Thank you so much for sharing. You guys truly are amazing. So just to start off strong, my first question to you guys is, as mental health advocates, how do you show up for yourselves so that you can show up for other people? So we can go in the same order if you guys want. So Kavina, Ava, Kelsey, if that sounds good.
Sure thing, yeah. Um, I know many of you guys may have heard a quote before. I don't remember exactly, but it's like, in order to love others, you have to love yourself first. In order to take care of others, you have to love yourself and take care of yourself first. And I really do believe in that. I think that if you're not in a great state of mind, then when you're around others, you probably are going to be projecting some of that negative energy towards other people. I think being involved in mental health and trying to learn more about it through some of my own free time is that I've learned a lot of different like coping mechanisms, tips and tricks, things you can do, things like meditation, journaling. You guys can probably like name a bunch of these also. These little infographics and stuff about how to take care of your mental health are everywhere now, which is really great to see. But I think just taking that information, and as a mental health advocate, we often try to share that information with other people, but we also really need to try and take that information and apply it to ourselves. There's actually this thing in psychology called the GI Joe fallacy, where it's like people understand like the facts about something and they don't take it in and actually apply it to themselves. So for instance, with smoking, people understand the terrible effects that smoking has on your health, but still people continue smoking. And I think that we can use that when in our view of mental health as well, is that in order to be able to share good mental health with others, we also have to take care of our own mental health in the first place. I'm a really big believer in like practicing what you preach. But to be honest, like this is something that I really strive to do, is like take care of myself first before taking care of others. But at the end of the day, it's still something that's pretty difficult, being able to like do all these practices to take care of your own mental health, even though you understand them. It's definitely a struggle, but I think that it's something that we should all strive to do, is just put yourself first, utilize the knowledge that you know when it comes to mental health, and try to take care of yourself a little bit. But yeah, I'd say just try to apply the knowledge that you know and take care of yourself first. Prioritize your mental health.
Thank you so much, Kavina. That was so just eloquently spoken. And I think that also something that I would really want to add to that is that it's this idea that we have our bucket, like a bucket that has water in it. Like, let's just say that for an example. And so every time that we're helping someone else, we're filling their bucket with water. We're giving a piece of ourselves to someone else. And I think the thing that we always need to remember for that is that what happens when our bucket gets empty, we need to make sure to replenish that constantly and to be able to take little moments. It doesn't have to be something crazy, something earth-shattering, excuse me, for creating space to help yourself. I think sometimes we think of self-care and that sort of stuff as like, oh, I'm going to spend the whole day doing a spa day, this and that. And sometimes self-care really is just waking up on time and taking care of yourself in small little ways, like maybe having like a nice big breakfast and maybe some pancakes that makes you feel a little bit more happier, or something like just making sure that you're consistently taking care of your own hygiene and things like that. It doesn't have to be something earth-shattering. And I think we also as a society, if you have a broken bone, a broken foot, something like that, no one is going to get mad at you for taking time to rest, for icing that, for taking maybe 30 minutes to sit down for a while and then get up and do something. And I think we also need to think of that as well in our in mental health, because it is the same exact thing as physical health, and the effects are just as great if we're not taking care of either one with our physical or mental health. And so, I mean, as a mental health advocate, I always try and check in with myself, those daily little check-ins of being like, hey, how am I doing? Is my bucket half full? Is it completely full? Is it where am I at? And what can I do to make sure that I'm at a point where I am able to give to others? And sometimes I do realize that I need to take a step back, And so it's that balance is very important. And I think that that's what I try and think about in so many different ways, that balance of giving to others while also giving time to myself. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that bucket analogy. That's one of my favorite ones. I use it all the time. And I think even to take it a step further is, what do you do when you realize you get to the end of the day, you have that check in with yourself and your bucket's empty? Like, what can you do in that, that time? And it can feel really overwhelming and really scary. But I think communication is so important in terms of mental health, and saying to a friend, my bucket's empty. I can't handle this right now. I need your help. Reaching out to those people that are, care about you, around you, and communicating to others that maybe now isn't a good time. I really don't think I can have this conversation right now. My bucket's empty. I need to take some time for myself. I'd love to talk about this later. And remembering that the people around you, the people that you have in your life, your friends, your family, your, teammates, classmates, whatever the case may be, those people in your life to enhance your life, to make your life better. And if, those people aren't able to be understanding of the fact that your bucket is empty, you've poured too much water out of it, then that's not for you to solve, right? Like, making sure that you are keeping yourself on track, because you're not going to be able to help other people if you don't have any water in your bucket to pour out. And I think, for me, it's been really hard to not fall into this pattern of comparing myself to others, while saying like, oh, well, this person next to me, they've had it much worse than I have. They had such a terrible year. They had all these terrible things happen to them. So what I'm going through isn't as important. I'll go help them. And it's taken a lot of practice, and I'm certainly still working on not making those comparisons between pain, saying they've had a really tough time. So have I. I need to take a step back, and I need to take care of myself before I can take care of them.
Thank you all so much for sharing your insights. I think we're all on a consensus that, as somebody put in the chat, we have to be kinder to ourselves and appreciate all that we do in the world. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing. So the next question I have for you guys is, how do you stay motivated as a mental health advocate, especially on those days where you feel like your work is going completely unnoticed?
This is a very valid question, because there are definitely days where I feel like my work is going completely unnoticed. So thank you for asking this. I think this is, I think just the way we should approach our work with anything, not just mental health, is that asking ourselves, first off, why we are doing it. And also, as we're doing it, are we enjoying it? I think that something that I briefly talked about this earlier is a project I've been working on. It's called Heads Up Teens. And for a while, the website wasn't really generating that many views. And I was feeling this pretty big slump where I was like, ugh, I don't know. I don't really want to be doing this right now. But then I slowed down and asked myself, first off, what I'm doing right now, is it what I genuinely am able to handle? And after that, I realized is that the amount of work that we were asking ourselves to do, which was at the time 1 blog post a week, was something that I couldn't handle. And because of that reason, I was not really enjoying my work that much, not putting my best quality work forward. And for a while, I thought like, the reason why I don't want to do this is because I'm not actually that interested in mental health. And that wasn't true at all. It was just simply, I was asking too much of myself at that time. So I think that with everything that we do in our lives, we really have to just slow down a bit and analyze, like, is what we're doing what's right for me right now? Is it something that I can handle in this current situation? So there's definitely been times in my mental health advocacy journey which I felt really unmotivated. But at the end of the day, if you slow down and be a little bit more introspective and ask yourself why you're doing it, and if the way that you're approaching it is appropriate, I think you'll be able to rediscover why you're doing something and why you love what you do. So I'd say that is probably my biggest piece of advice when it comes to not just pursuing mental health advocacy, but just any work that you do, is emphasizing quality over quantity and analyzing if the approach that you're doing right now is fitting.
Yes, I think that to add to what Kevina is saying, I think that motivation can be really hard as just as young people trying to really get our voices out and to explain why mental health is important. It can be hard just because it feels like sometimes we aren't listened to enough. Sometimes it's those ideas that, oh, well, you're only 16. What do you know about this sort of stuff? And so the thing that I've had to sort of reframe from that is that one person's voice can create so many more people to join in, to chime in, to share their experience. I think once one person is strong enough and willing to stand up to explain what's going on and what needs to be changed, other people can feel more confident to chime in. And so yes, of course, there are some days that it feels like I'm just screaming into the wind, like saying, come on, we need to do something for this. And it seems like sometimes nobody's hearing me, but I think another analogy, another metaphor, I think that once we think of like a stream sort of going, it's very calm, it's just slowly floating and like a stream just going down, and then it enters a river and you have that rippling effect. And I think that's something that I've tried to think of and reframe about. So yeah, sometimes it is slow. Sometimes it feels like it's taking a long time for someone to listen, for change to be made, for small steps to be made. However, once it gets to that part where more people are joining in, where I'm able to speak at a lead peace talks, where I'm able to explain how important mental health and all of these things are, it does make me take a step back, and it makes me think, hey, maybe those times that I felt so unmotivated and like I was working so hard for what seemed like nothing was being accomplished, it was worth it, because there are these little times in life where I feel like, wow, something is being changed. Like with the school board, like, oh my goodness, I was able to talk to my counselor and then talk to the FCPS, my school district mental health specialist, and we're able to make some little pieces of change so that it becomes a bigger piece of change. And so, yeah, I think that sort of sums it up, just trying to keep on going and realize that yes, there are so many times where I'm going to feel frustrated and unmotivated. And once I'm able to get to those times where I'm actually able to see some progress, see some change, it makes me feel just so wonderful. So holding on to those moments are so helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally second everything that you guys have said. And I think like I have a quick little story that I think really helps explain, how I deal with this sometimes, because it definitely is super hard. A few months ago, I applied to give a TED Talk at my school about my mental health experiences in athletics and, all that good stuff. And I got to the finals. I was super excited. I'd never done this before. I'd never talked about my mental health experiences in front of really anyone other than my family and close friends. And, I thought I did really well. I thought I had a great talk. I had people looking at it for me and I was super confident. And then I didn't get it. And, the reasoning was that it was too similar to other things they've seen on the TED platform. And in my brain, I was like, well, then what's the point of me even doing this? If this already exists, if this is already out there, all this content is out there, like, what am I doing? Why am I here? Why am I, taking all this mental and emotional energy to share what I'm going through if it's, just exactly the same as this person over here is saying? And then I got a DM on Instagram from this girl who goes to my school who said, I was really disappointed that you didn't get the TED Talk. And I heard your talk, and my little sister is also a swimmer in the NESCAC, which is our conference. And hearing what you had to say really made me think of her and all the ways I could support her through her athletic journey, through her journey as my sister, as a person. And I just wanted to thank you for being so vulnerable. And I'm sorry you didn't get it. And I thought about my talk and the last line of my talk that I am still trying to give someday. So hopefully that will be something I can do in the future. The last line of my talk is, if one person could hear my message and be affected by it, that would be enough. And I'm reading this DM and I got just so emotionally overwhelmed because I realized I really, really, really meant that. I meant that if one person could hear this and hear what I was saying and think, oh, this is what I need to do. This is how I can support someone else. This is how I can support myself. That really, really was enough. So taking, this pressure from society to, get thousands of followers on Instagram, to be reaching hundreds of thousands of people at a time. Of course, that's incredible. That's always the goal, right? You want to reach more people. But if you can reach one person and you can have an effect on that person and you can help that person, I've been really trying to come to terms with the fact that that's the goal. At the end of the day, if you can change someone's life or even just change the way they think about something and be that person that a girl on another webinar was for me, and I said, oh my God, I need help. I need to go to therapy. I need to do all these things and I need to take care of myself. that's what the goal is at the end of the day. So trying to steer away from this idea of reaching everyone all at once, because that's never going to happen. That's not how the world works. There's too many of us. There's too much going on. But reaching one person you don't know, one person you do know, that's all you can ask for.
Thank you so much for sharing. I see Fatima in the chat. She's saying it's making me emotional. You guys have like amazing insights. It is making me emotional. So thank you guys so much for sharing. So we are really tight on time. So I'm gonna ask one question, like really, really short, to the panelists. And it's, what's that one thing that we can do as youth to help shift the stigma around mental health?
I think when it comes to mental health, the word stigma gets thrown around. You always hear stigma around mental health. But the thing is, there is genuinely so much stigma around this subject. And we really need to work together, I think, as a society to not just approach mental health reform through things such as that require like a degree or like a career in mental health. The fact is, and I love how you emphasize the word youth, is that we can do and create change around mental health just through the little actions that we control day to day. And I think a really great place that we can start, I know you said one thing, but I'm going to talk about two things really quick. The first thing I think is that we can start by educating ourselves, because we say stigma in mental health exists in our society. Society is composed of people. We might have stigmas around mental health in ourselves that we don't even realize. And I think the way we can go about approaching that is through trying to educate ourselves more, learning about mental health, going on the National Institute of Mental Health webpage, looking at those super cute infographics on Instagram, whatever it is. I think just learning about mental health is a great first step to decreasing the stigma within ourselves. And I think the next step, kind of following after educating ourselves about mental health, is going out and like just opening up conversation about it. It sounds like such a trivial step to just talk about mental health, but it's truly such an important thing to do, because when we talk to others, we're sharing our insights with them. We were sharing the education, the stuff that we learned from our own research with other people, and we're opening up conversation about mental health. So it is a normalized subject, because right now there's this huge issue where if you're depressed or if you have anxiety and you want to, you feel almost afraid to say that you are struggling, because in this hyperproductive society where mental health is also stigmatized, it's like we can't talk about these issues, and that's such a problem. The fact is, I saw a statistic from NAMI. It's like 1 in 6 youth suffer from a mental health illness, but yet no one's really talking about it because everyone's afraid. But the fact is that mental health is such a prevalent issue for so many people. So I think that we need to go about trying to learn a bit more about ourselves, mental health on our own, and then going about and just talking about mental health with other people, because so many people were struggling and feeling the same way. It's just right now, it's a stigmatized thing to talk about. So educating, learning, and then educating, learning, talking, and just taking action. We really needed, the fact is that like you have the power to create change through the little steps. As long as you just keep doing it, you can make change. So thank you guys all for being here today. Just, I think being at this lead talk is already an amazing first step, because everyone here is willing to learn. Everyone here is willing to engage in conversation about mental health. And that just gives me a lot of hope. So again, thank you guys so much for having me. And I'm just excited to see what everyone here does in the future.
That was wonderful, Kevina. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think that a lot of times with youth and with many different issues, not only mental health, it's this idea that we can't make change, that you're just one person, you're only this age, you don't have the experience to explain this. And I think that's such a common misconception, and something that is so far from the truth, because I have seen I have been so amazed by so many peers really bringing light to so many issues, from mental health to women's issues to racial equality. And I think it's that same idea that one person can make change. And once one person makes that first step of explaining what's going on, what they've dealt with, how we can approach this better in the future, once that one person talks and speaks up, sometimes it is just like that ripple effect of so many more people continuing to be like, oh, maybe I can explain why this is such an important issue. And I think it's sometimes it will feel like, oh my goodness, I don't know if I can do this today. And it's also that idea that there are some days that are harder than others. However, once we keep on talking, once we keep on communicating with our peers, with people, trusted adults, and trying to explain in just our local communities can make such a big difference in how we approach mental health as a whole. And I think sometimes like there is this idea that, oh, well, we're better off than we were 50 years ago with talking about mental health. So we're good right now. And I think it's changing that to the fact that, yes, we have made progress and there is so much more to be made and to continue to change in how we approach mental health as a society and just completely as a whole, because mental health is something that has a lot of stigma around it that I have faced firsthand. And it seems like, oh, I can't explain what's going on because I might be judged or things of that nature. And I think the thing that is also very important to note is that every single person deals with mental health. And I think sometimes it's hard to wrap your head around that. It's like, but I'm okay. And it's like, yes, you can feel happy. That is a part of mental health, feeling happy. It's also a part feeling so excited. Your cheeks feel like they're gonna just completely break, because it's everything is so related from your experiences to just everything for mental health. And I think that approaching it in a way that everyone can have those tools and those resources for, even if they're not struggling specifically, even if they think they're doing an okay job, it's so important to bring resources and awareness, because something can change and things can continue to improve if we keep on raising our voices and talking to people in our neighborhood, bringing awareness just in any way we can. Things will change and continue to get better. So thank you again for this opportunity. It was wonderful speaking, and thank you, Kevina and Kelsey. I really appreciate it, and especially Hyra. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. That was awesome. Thank you, Ava. One really quick thing, because I know we're running low on time. One quick thing I would add is answering the question, how are you? Honestly, I feel like our brains in a society, we're so wired to say, oh, I'm good, thanks. How are you? And some days, maybe, yes, I'm good, thanks. How are you is appropriate. But especially with the people you trust, saying, I'm feeling really overworked today. I feel super tired today. And I'm not saying that every time someone asks you how you're doing, you have to explain everything about your mental illness, your mental health. That's not what I mean. But just saying to someone that you trust, yeah, I'm having a hard day. I feel really anxious today. And being able to express that without having to worry about what this other person is going to think of you. And I'm certainly guilty of the, oh, I'm great, thanks, how are you, when I'm really not great. So I think one thing that we can all do and all strive to do and work on doing is answering that question honestly, and, posing the question of, what do you need? Is there anything I can do to help you, to someone who's confiding in you that they are maybe struggling? And I think if you can, find it in yourself to be honest, Ava asks me, hey, how are you? And I say, I'm really not doing well today. How are you? Maybe now Ava's going to feel more comfortable saying, yeah, it's been a really tough week. I've had a really hard time, and not only have you just shared how you're feeling, you've opened up the space that now Ava feels comfortable sharing how she's feeling too. And if we can just make these small little steps, like you guys were both saying about, it's not going out and changing the world tomorrow, but if we can make these little steps where, it becomes more acceptable to answer those questions honestly and be, real about how we're feeling, it'll be a lot easier to have those deeper conversations, to say, yeah, I've been struggling with anxiety and depression, and it's been really hard, right? Because when we have physical injuries, we say, oh, how's your back feeling today? My back really hurts today. It's been a tough day. My back really hurts. So we got to get to that place where we can say, yeah, my brain's tired. My brain hurts. My brain injury is sore. It's overworked. things like that really will make all the difference, especially as they add up over time. So thank you guys so much. This was incredible. I'm so glad to have been here.
Ava, I think you said this, like your cheeks are going to start hurting when you smile a lot. And I think that is definitely me. And there was a part where I was kind of like tearing up, but I was holding back my tears. So you guys, thank you so much. Like, I feel like thank you is an understatement. Like, I feel so, this morning I woke up and I was like, I don't know, I wasn't feeling it. But then just hearing you guys talk and just like being so vulnerable and open with all of us, I just feel so inspired. Like I have this boost of energy that after this, I don't know, I'm probably gonna go clean the house or something, but I just feel so inspired by you guys. And one thing I really do want to emphasize is, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, is that, you know, it's truly okay to not be okay. And one thing I really learned is to make an effort to check in with your friends and family, and they don't have to respond back to you. Like, just tell them you don't have to respond back. I just wanted to make sure that you know that I'm here for you, sending you my love, whatever that is. And another thing is, oftentimes the people that you think have their life together and that they're always happy and positive and doing so well, that they're the ones oftentimes struggling the most. And it could be that that's their coping skill, to do more work, to like make sure everything is like a facade, it's perfect, going out well. So I would definitely say, sorry, I said that twice. I would definitely make an effort to reach out and check in on anyone, even if they don't respond back to you, just go for it. And again, I feel so grateful for all of you. And again, to be here on a Sunday and the weather is beautiful, just from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so much.